A freaky boy. I love it.
We are recording.
Oh. Nice.
On that note.
Sorry, I was playing Star Wars on my phone.
I got this locker. So I have to kind of shift myself a little different.
Got a what?
I said shift. I have to shift myself a little different because I got the locker here now.
Oh,
I can't
right.
sit back as far as I
new
have
office.
been.
The new arrangement.
Dude, yeah, it's
It actually looks
better.
Nice. No, it looks good.
It's way better. Oh,
10 times better.
I'm gonna.
What?
You hear Ben getting angry at the game. Ben Butcher.
Oh,
PS4 party, so I'll just turn that down.
nice.
I don't think it'll be a problem. Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. A couple weeks.
Yeah.
Couple week break. But
Couple week
the
break.
holiday was in there somewhere.
Yeah. Thanksgiving was in there.
I feel like just make excuses every time.
It's fine.
But
I don't know.
oh, dude.
This coffee's not good.
Where'd you get it from,
I
Franklin?
just made it. No,
Oh.
I just made it as a Keurig at home.
Oh, dude.
It was
I
some
hate
random like
Keurigs.
diner coffee Keurig thing.
I don't know what it is. I just can't get them anymore. I used to
Yeah.
when I first started here at the church and I was here all day and I didn't have my driver's license, back then. 8 years ago now or 7 years ago now. Isn't that weird to think about?
That's weird.
7, 8 years ago. I am now the longest tenured youth pastor at this church ever.
Nice.
Josh
Congrats.
told me that.
Wow, good job.
I think he thinks it's because he's never taken me fishing. But
What?
every time that he's taken somebody fishing from the church that's on staff here, they leave within like a certain amount of time. Every time. Every time they've left within a certain amount of time.
That's really funny.
Yeah, it kind of is. I don't think he's actually superstitious like that. But
Go fishing
he
with him and
kinda
prove him
jokes.
wrong.
He kind of jokes about it.
That's kind of funny, actually.
But I used to have 6 Keurigs a day.
What?
Yeah.
You mean, wait, back when you were driving
Back when I
from
first started
Nabisco?
here.
Oh, when you first... Ew.
When I lost the Nabisco job because I lost my license and everything, I would have 7 cups of coffee a day. Usually they were Keurigs. It was 5 to 7 cups of coffee a day. Now it's
So
not.
now you're burnt out on Keurig.
Yeah. And then somebody told me once that they put parasites in your belly because of the plastic and stuff. But everything.
Everything.
Here I am.
There's some
sipping-
conspiracy to everything. Giving you cancer or
Nice
parasites.
segue there. Nice segue. Dude, actually, really quick. There is one thing that I want to get. What is it called? Death in a Can or something like that? It's a drink. Where's my phone? Is it called Death in a Can? I gotta show it to you. I just saw it this morning on some other. Liquid Death.
Oh, it's just water, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 I don't
But,
understand.
like-
I don't understand the point of it.
Murder your thirst.
Oh.
Liquid Death.
There's literally nothing special about it.
Nope.
At all.
It's
just
mountain
called-
water. It's mountain water.
Well, there you go. All they're selling is the name, which is
Yeah.
kind of genius, actually. Like,
And cans.
yeah.
When's the last time you
canned
drank
water.
canned water?
Hey, it's nice.
Never?
And
I don't think I've
it
ever.
seals in the
drank.
H2O.
I don't think I've ever. Anyway, it just
Never
made me
had
think of
canned
that.
water.
I really
It's
want some.
interesting.
I really want some canned water, but
It'd be cool. Be pretty interesting.
oh, for sure. But you were doing a nice segue there into our topic for today, so
Honestly, I
I'll let you
didn't
to
even
keep
think
rolling
of
with
that.
that.
That just happened. I was not even.
How did you not
I
think
don't
of that?
know. I just
That
didn't.
literally felt like it was a
A
forced.
perfect segue.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
a forced segue there. So
well,
the segue. Go ahead, carry
today
on.
we're talking about conspiracy theories,
Yeah, we're gonna go over each of our favorite conspiracy. No, I'm just
and
kidding.
then explain to you why you're an idiot if you don't believe them.
I don't think that's what we were gonna do. At least that's not what we
No.
first talked about.
I'm just kidding.
What was okay? Conspiracy theory. I'm gonna look up the definition of it. I feel like that's a good way to start because a lot of times I feel like we get down the
Sure.
road and then I'm like, wait, what is the definition
Yeah,
of
do it.
what? We're talking about a belief that some covert but influential organization is responsible for a circumstance or event. That's it? Interesting.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
We're really what we're talking about with conspiracies today is how much should we actually entertain conspiracies? Is it wrong to even entertain conspiracies at all, to even think about them? Or is there some element of we should desire to find the truth, and that could possibly be in conspiracy theories even? Like, should we consider the possibility that a conspiracy theory is actually true and be desiring to find what is true? Or should we just stay away from conspiracy theories because they're all just a bunch of hoo-ha or rubbish or whatever? And
You had that
we
Bible
have that
verse.
Bible verse that
Yeah.
I can
Pull that up.
read right now that could maybe just add a little bit to think about with this issue.
Yeah.
It's very
Tail
specific.
Bible bubble. Yep, bubble verse. I hate typing. 1 Timothy 4:7. Yep, this is probably it. Have nothing to do with godless myths and old wives' tales. Rather, train yourselves to be godly.
Aha. All right, I found it.
Dude, I'm gonna have to edit now.
Yeah. Train yourself to be godly. Have nothing to do with godless myths and old wives' tales. Rather, train yourself to be godly. And then it goes on to say, for physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding the promise for both the present life and the life to come. So, I mean, the physical training thing doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about. But just the idea of it's just basically saying don't concern yourself with things that you just don't need to concern yourself with. Like, if it's not ultimately leading you closer to God or building his kingdom in some way, then don't concern yourself with it. If it's not making you more godly proactively.
Right. And then I can hear people on the other side arguing, well, at what point is it seeking justice and truth that is something that can be godly? Right? The other side of the coin is, where is the balance of your conspiracy theories? I think I know where the balance is, but where is the balance for your conspiracy theories running rampant and becoming something that is ungodly and godless myths and so on? And then where is the side where you're actually doing something that is right? Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing that ruins all of this, that makes it an ungodly myth or godless myth and bullcrap, let's just say, is when it's just your stinking, stupid conversation starter, opinion, Facebook blabbing, social media, YouTube ranting junk. But if you are actually doing something about it, if you are actually making a difference, like the children being abducted and sold into sex trafficking or being used as in some pedophile ring or Pizzagate or whatever you want to do, Moloch out in Bohemian Grove, conspiracy theory type stuff. You can talk about that and research these things and do that, but I think the biggest thing you can do is contribute to things that are attacking pedophile rings, that are, okay, let me rephrase that, not attacking, but things that are disrupting that. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different campaigns going on in our world that are actively fighting against human trafficking, sex trafficking, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
I think if you're contributing to those things, or if you work for those things, or if you're like my friend who is literally going through the process to become a state patrol, and he has to be a state patrol, I think it's for 2 years, and then he can finally work for, is it the Department of Justice or is it Homeland Security? One of the two. Homeland Security or Department of Justice, Sexual Crimes Unit, or specifically for children who are being trafficked. Mm-hmm. Then guess what? Do your research, get fired up, read these things, have your conspiracies, which some people would say that's not even a conspiracy, these are truths. Yes, there's truth to it, but there's also a lot of conspiracy surrounding it. I'm just using that as an example because if you're actively doing something about it, besides just ranting and raving and screaming on your social medias, I think then you can graduate to a place where you're actually doing something. And it can be good.
Yeah, it's more productive.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think another like interesting like thought with conspiracy theories is there's just like phrase QAnon, which is basically the idea that conspiracy theories in themselves may not be true, but there is an element of truth behind them that's like
joke
fueling them kind of. So like for example, like with the Pizzagate thing or whatever, that they like everybody started thinking that there was this pedophile ring being hidden in this pizza shop.
Right.
And then somebody came in there, like busted in there with a gun, was ready to shoot up the place. And like the whole place was searched and everything, and there was like no evidence found for any sort of pedophile ring thing, right? And so that was like a conspiracy that came up as a result of the fact that there are pedophile rings that exist,
right?
And they are happening. But QAnon is kind of this idea that people know that there's something wrong, there's something off,
but they can't.
But
grasp
they don't.
What it is.
Yeah, they can't grasp what it is, and so.
They just start...
Things like this and conspiracy theories are like it's like their way of expressing that like something. It's their way of trying to do something about it.
Right.
There isn't anything they can tangibly do.
Right.
And so it just comes out as conspiracy theories. And so you can...
Which is almost, wouldn't you say, is almost as dangerous as cancel culture? Because you're literally flinging a gazillion shots hoping one sticks, and finally you hit one, but guess what? You just did all this damage over here.
Well, you're probably adding to the confusion. You're probably making it harder to actually get down to the actual truth and what's really going on.
Yeah. It's like don't F with cats.
Yes.
When everybody in that whole little group found the guy in Africa or South Africa, and they were like, oh, he did it. And then the two people were like, wait, no, he didn't. We put out information that led people to believe he was here. That's not him. It's somewhere over here. But everybody was like, no, this is it. And then that guy ended up killing himself.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying that's going to happen every time, but like, ultimately, it is adding to confusion to what could actually, you can find the solution.
Yeah.
Or not solution. You can identify the problem, then there can be a solution talked about.
Right. Yeah, so it is really dangerous when you don't have any hard like evidence or facts to be like just speaking these things out like they're just hard facts or truth,
right? Because
it does become very misleading and not edifying and confusing and just unproductive, honestly. Like kind of counterproductive in a way. But then it's like, I guess I just understand where people are coming from when they're talking about conspiracy theories or when they believe it. It's like they're not maybe as crazy as you think they are.
Yeah.
Like they do have some valid reason for believing these things.
Right. I think it's how you handle it. It's how you go about handling it. Because there are plenty of conspiracy theorists that I think it's what would the word be? I feel like I always use this word, but it'd be detrimental to their spirit. If you let something like that run rampant and you are pursuing ungodly myths, rather make yourself godly. Like if you're looking at these myths and researching this stuff more than you're actually drawing closer to God, then what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's the balance of what idols there are in your life. I know this is it's like very Sunday school, but it's true. Is like, if something's taking up too much of your time, too much of your thought life, too much of all that you are, and you're not spending enough time with the Lord, and you're not trusting in the Lord, and so on and so forth, there's a balance there. But like I said, to jump back, there's also, I think, a pursuit of truth behind things. I think the biggest problem I have, and I don't off the top of my head know of any scripture that backs this up, but the biggest problem that I have with conspiracy theory conversations and people, you know me, I talk conspiracy theories, I like conspiracy theories, but I always want to be solution driven. Where I feel like half the time conspiracy theorists can just go from one conspiracy theory to the next complaining about how awful things are and bring no solution, and all they do is try to identify a problem.
Right.
And I'm very much like, okay, let's identify the problem quickly, and now let's talk about a solution for it. Pizzagate or whatever. What is the solution to these things? What is the solution to the election stuff going on? Whatever side you fall on. I just told somebody the other day, I was like, I don't even care anymore. I just want it to be just like, let's just move on, because it's gotten to the point where I think about the message that was preached on a Sunday. I think about a message that was put on my heart that I preached on a Sunday, where it's like, no matter what happens and who's in office or what is going on with our government officials or what is this overarching thing, we have a duty as Christians, and that does not change despite that. The solution to a lot of these things is maybe Christians actually getting less involved in conspiracy theories and getting more involved in sharing the gospel.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like, again, that's like kind of the problem with conspiracy theories. It's like conspiracy theories are the result of people not knowing how to solve the issue. Right. And so the only thing they can do to be proactive in any way is just like talking about the problem, because there's no, like, a lot of conspiracy theories, there is actually nothing like that individual can really do, because it has to do with institutions and higher up power usually, that you're basically powerless to change. And so then but you feel like you're doing something by at least exposing them, you know?
Right.
But then at that point, it's probably not really beneficial in any way to talk about those things. Like kind of going back to what you're saying, if you actually can't provide a solution for something, then you shouldn't be concerning yourself with it or talking about it, because then it honestly is just pointless chatter at that point. It's
pointless chatter, but then also think about, like, well, I need to get the truth out there, and that's holy, you know, like, my conspiracy theory isn't a theory, it's truth, and I know it, so I'm going to keep sharing it with people so that they understand what this is like, and then they start boycotting, or they start... Guess what? Your conspiracy theory is a conspiracy theory until it's absolutely proven. And if you literally put this into people's brains and they start doing things, you can't control what people do. But if somebody, the person that shows up to a pizza place with a gun, imagine if he busts in there and just started shooting before asking questions.
Right.
I'm not saying Pizzagate isn't real. Right. That's not what I'm saying. Know, I guess, but technically we don't know. We obviously know there's pedophile rings. We obviously know there's something disgusting going on. 100%. I'm for stopping it, unveiling it, so on. But if at some point in time we uncover all of this and this pizza place didn't have anything to do with it, they might, I don't know. I'm just saying, if they didn't, and imagine that person goes in there and shoots the place up, to be honest, you have a responsibility for that. Right. If you were the person that was just spewing off stuff, the way that we treat people, like the conspiracy theory of the election, what people are saying, it's not so much, you know, I shared my thoughts with these people and how they're going to treat Biden if he's president, or if Trump actually does get into office and how they're going to treat him. It's how are you going to treat the left side versus the right side? Because a lot of people view it that way. Well, now all of a sudden, you're going to see a lot of Republican right-leaning people start treating Dems in a very poor way because of this whole conspiracy theory. You guys cheated and like, it's like, sorry, but that is not what we're supposed to be concerned with. Like, I think it's something that we can think about. It's something that we can talk about. There's conspiracy theories that you can do a little research and invest in.
Yeah.
But I think if you're doing that and it's pushing you to like, oh Lord, we need help. I'm going to be praying about this.
Yeah.
I'm going to be giving to A21. I think that's one of like the sex trafficking things. Or I'm going to be giving to this. I'm going to be giving to this.
Yeah.
Then sweet, it's
Yeah,
all
right.
about what you do
It's like,
with
what
that
is your
information.
actual response? Yeah, right. What is your response? What is your...
Because if all it is like, oh, I invested all I did in this conspiracy theory, on to the next one, and then it's like the meme where the head just keeps exploding.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but you never gave a solution. You actually, guess what? You didn't make an impact on this world.
Yeah.
Despite what you think, you did not make an impact on this world. All you did was sit there and research and add to confusion instead of actually making a difference, which I'm sure is what is at the heart of a lot of people that do this.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we just have to consider too that like Satan is constantly looking to distract us with anything and everything that is not godly and to keep us from actually doing things that matter.
Right.
And so, and he'll do that through the appearance of good or a justified cause even, I believe. So even something like a conspiracy theory where your heart is completely right about, talking about this thing and trying to do something about it.
Yeah.
But if ultimately, you're not doing anything productive or becoming more godly or building the kingdom in any way through talking about that, all it is a distraction from what actually matters,
Yeah.
And
then you're looking at worldly solutions,
Yeah.
worldly answers, worldly problems, and you're not looking at like the greater solution to all
Yeah.
of this.
And I think another thing is like, okay, yes, like even talking about conspiracy theories, maybe you're pursuing truth. You're trying, to find what's true. But is it like truth that is really that important? Like, I feel like there's more important truths to be putting your time into, Like, is it that necessary? Like, sure, maybe there is some truth there somewhere. But even if at the end of the day, you're completely right about your conspiracy theory, and you're like, okay, yeah, and I was right. We figured out what's true. Did it really even do anything?
What's the solution?
Yeah, wouldn't it have been so much better to put your time into just like things that are actually right here in your real world, like right in your backyard? And, and then like knowing truth that's in the word that you can actually be practically applying to your life. Like if you can still be about pursuing truth and not talking about conspiracy theories all day.
Yeah.
And be a lot more productive, probably.
So, follow me on this. I'm going to see if this makes sense. This is a one-time. I just thought of it. Going to try it. We'll see what happens, okay?
All right.
I don't think it is my job to expose sin in others. I think, okay, other than you're my close friend, I'm going to approach you. Or maybe not close friend, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't think it is necessarily my job to expose sin in others to an extent. I think there's variables where it is our job. Just calm down. Hear me out. Their sin will find them out. God will have justice and vengeance at the end of the day. Or end of time, whatever you want to say. What I am trying to do is raise up a generation that doesn't have pedophiles.
Yeah.
What I am trying to do is raise up a generation that isn't racist, that isn't sex trafficking, that isn't. I am trying to make an impact with the reach that I have to make sure that this next generation coming up doesn't do the same things that the older generation is doing. But guess what? If their sin is exposed, we can handle it. Do I think that if all of a sudden I was involved somehow with a bunch of political big celebrity type figures and I found out about it, whistleblowing, sure, I'll do it. But I'm not out here in a realm where I can't prove anything, can't do anything, can't solve anything of what's going on right now. I will contribute to, like I said, the different organizations that are actively fighting that.
Yeah.
I will contribute to that. Sure. Absolutely. But what can I do right here, right now, is a whole lot less of this sitting here, conspiracy theory, and a whole lot more of this.
Right.
of like with my students, with people around me, trying to make sure that I water the grass in my lawn. Because if everybody just did the grass in their own lawn, then guess what? The world would look pretty green.
Yeah.
But instead, everybody's focused on the land that they can't see, never see, nothing.
The house on the top of the hill.
Going on up there?
Yeah.
While it's all brown and garbage around you, and you're wondering why in 50 years from now, when these kids are grown up and they're the politicians, why they're still pedophiles.
There's garbage.
Or why there's still sex trafficking, or why there's still drug problems, why there's still racism, why there's still injustice, why there's still corruption. There's a solution to these things. I'm not saying the older generation and what's going on in people's lives or in my generation is too corrupt and too far gone.
Yeah.
100%. Still reach them, still witness to them, and so on. But my biggest concern and why I'm in youth ministry is trying to get this generation to know the solution so that we don't have those problems in the future.
Yeah, that's really good.
Because their sin's going to find them out.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think we are taking responsibility in the wrong area. You know, like a lot of those things, it's not even our job to figure those things out or to be their judge, right? So let's put our time and our energy into the things that we are responsible for and the things that God has entrusted us with right here. Like, yeah, I just think in general, even beyond conspiracy theories, we live so much of our life in the cloud and like on our phones, in the intangible, like just wasting time. We're not accomplishing anything. If we would put down our phone, stop thinking about the conspiracy theory or what our government's doing today, and just put our time and our attention into the people right here in our lives, caring about them, loving them, pursuing godliness, seeking to help others become more godly. Like, because our world would look better.
Because what you were talking about before with the two different truths, like your truth to your conspiracy theory, cool, but what does that truth do? Yeah. I'm sorry, it exposes sin or corruption that's going on. Cool, we can solve it, but guess what? There's corruption here, corruption here, corruption here. It's the flipping rumor weed. You only pulled up one weed. Now there's already 10 billion other weeds. Yeah. But if you give somebody the solution to every weed that they come across, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what weed they find. You gave them the solution for all situations. This is the truth that comes up where no matter what my government is doing today, this is the truth that covers it all. Yep. The peace, the grace, the forgiveness, the conviction, the right, the wrong, the morals, which is right and wrong. I just repeat myself. But it gives us everything we need for that. So why be so concerned with conspiracy theories to an extent? Obviously, like I said, there's still a great, I still think there's a good thing to be aware of what's going on. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, it's crazy to think in our world nowadays, the conspiracy theories are, I mean, given to us in mainstream media. Yeah. I mean, half the stuff they come out with on all these news networks anyway is
just conspiracy theories.
It is, because it's not factually backed. Like, your local news network is maybe not local, but the big news networks are all just conspiracy networks anyway now. Because half their stuff is probably what? Baloney propaganda. So it's just like, if you have the truth, you don't have to worry about all the lies. You'll be able to handle these things. Yeah. That's what drives me nuts with the whole American way of things a little bit. Yeah. To an extent. But I don't know.
Yeah, so it's good to be informed about things, but just because we are informed about something doesn't mean we have to be consumed by it and putting all of our time into it.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if we could make a statement about conspiracy theories. I feel like what we're kind of saying or getting to is like, if you cannot actively provide some solution to what you're talking about,
Yeah.
then don't talk about it. And that goes for probably anything, really.
Yeah. I mean, that probably does go for everything. Yeah.
Or maybe not even don't talk about it, but like don't let that be what's consuming your time, you know?
That shouldn't be everything you post, research, so on and so forth.
Because like, yeah, again, I don't think it's wrong to be like, hey, listen to this. This is kind of an interesting like thought, interesting conspiracy theory. Like I like conspiracy theories just because they're entertaining, honestly.
Yes.
But that's not like, I'm not like paranoid all day long of like,
no.
Oh, where's the next pedophile ring in my town? Whatever, you know?
Or the vaccine.
Yeah.
That's the new one. I'll be honest, man. The whole vaccine thing, I've seen a lot of people post about it, against it. And then out of left field, somebody I respect that I did not expect said everybody should get it.
I haven't even heard anything really with the vaccine thing.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
I think there's 2 vaccines right now. But yeah, it's just really that one, I feel like a conspiracy theory like that is difficult. Because it doesn't have to necessarily do it does have to do with corruption or something going on, the conspiracy theory behind it, but that it's just being used in some awful way. I don't know. It's super it's a weird one. It's not the same as like a pedophile ring where your pursuit is justified. And like you're trying to carry out justice. Mm-hmm. You're trying to provide something, whereas the vaccine, it's more like distrust in the government.
Mm-hmm. That's something that conspiracy theories is really doing. It's causing distrust in government and institutions.
Do you think it's undermining our ability to submit to authority the way we're supposed to?
I think it is in a lot of ways. I think it's because it's so like, why would you submit to your government when they're all corrupt and evil and going behind our backs and doing these crazy things underground, you know? And that's the narrative that's painted for government.
Which we talked about in the Submitting to Authority podcast. Yeah. You could go to our channel and find that one if you haven't listened to it. Mm-hmm. But there's an aspect of that I remember that has popped up quite a few times in church when like specific situation where the wife has given her heart to the Lord and wants to attend church and her husband isn't there yet. He's not at that point. He's not interested in going to church or with the Lord or so on. How that situation is played out, I think, is a fairly good analogy to the whole situation, where the wife, the best thing she can do in that situation is to uphold her marital duty and commitment that the Lord has provided in submitting and respecting her husband. And if her husband says, I don't want to go to church today and I don't want you to go to church today, is to be able to stay home. And to see that respect and that authority and that so on, that you do that, is a good testimony to your husband. Mm-hmm. Because I've seen that many times happen to where then the husband it ends up getting saved through that. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, despite whether your husband, despite whether your government is good or bad, saved, unsaved, can't trust them or can trust them, you are still called by God to do something. Mm-hmm. And our God is perfect, and our God is righteous, and what he's called us to do, and in order to honor him, we are to do that despite the leadership, despite the husband, despite the so on. You are called to submit and to respect your husband. The same way we are called to submit to authority put above us, despite if they are bad. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we went over the whole Submitting to Authority podcast, blah, 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 depending on what they say, when's the time to disobey. Went through it all, not going to cover it right now. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think that has a role to play in it. And I think if conspiracy theories are undermining in obedience to God, in what he's called us to do, then they're definitely not good.
For sure.
It's definitely not good. Because then you're just sowing seeds of distrust in yourself, causing you to not want to submit to the authority that you are called to submit to.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Never thought of that.
I didn't think of it till now.
No, that's like honestly a really real thing.
Yeah.
that I feel like is going on with conspiracy theory.
Huh.
But yeah.
Huh.
It's interesting.
That threw me for a loop a little bit. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Were there any
other?
Well, I was just gonna ask you, based on your knowledge, somebody in the comments might be able to help us out, but it'll be too late. Are there any conspiracies back then?
Oh, in the Bible?
Yeah. Were there any conspiracy theories?
I don't know.
Was it a conspiracy?
I mean, technically, like, the Pharisees were conspiring against Jesus. Like,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Was it a conspiracy that surrounding Jesus? Was there a conspiracy on either side? I don't just mean the conspiracy to kill Jesus. I'm talking like conspiracy theories on either side of it. I guess it looked like a conspiracy theory from the other side, looking at Jesus like, oh, he says he's this. That must be a conspiracy theory kind of a thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just confusing people.
I don't know if it's exactly like a conspiracy theory as we know it, but it is like the result of it's like brewing up lies basically against someone to like push your agenda. You know, that's like what the Pharisees were doing. Mm-hmm. They didn't like Jesus. They didn't want to get rid of him, so they built this whole narrative around Jesus and got people to get behind it to push their agenda.
Right.
And ultimately got what they wanted, you know,
by
crucifying Jesus. Obviously not in the end, but like that was all built on, you know, their theory about who Jesus was.
Right.
And so I guess in a way, yeah.
I was just wondering if there was a legitimate biblical reference of conspiracies. Or is it just that verse that talks about myths and conspiracy? Yeah. So, does that mean Bigfoot?
I don't know. I mean, I guess, yeah, that could be just a godless myth. An old wives' tale. I don't know. I like Bigfoot.
I do too.
Bigfoot's real.
I think he's real too.
Bigfoot, aliens, chupacabras.
Aliens? You know what? That's actually an interesting one. Aliens is interesting because there's a lot of people think when you see aliens or the UFOs or blah 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 is like a moment where you're seeing into the spiritual realm and they're actually demons.
I've heard that before.
Yeah,
it's like a manifestation of a demon.
So,
or like Bigfoot. I've heard like people say that for any of those things, like Bigfoot, aliens, like all these weird mythical creatures. Is it like some demon?
So I'm wondering, is there any biblically fueled conspiracy theories? You know what I'm saying? Because then that would that make them justified? Would that make it, I am getting to know the Lord because it's biblically fueled?
I don't know. Is it really necessary for us to figure out if aliens are real or not?
No.
Why do we need to know that? For the sake of...
I don't know. Because if they ever show up.
Well, I guess we'll figure it out when they show up. But I mean, like that. That's like, there's something going on. People are seeing aliens. People say they see these things.
Yeah.
Nobody has any idea what the heck is happening.
Right.
And so now we don't know what to do with it. There's no tangible thing we can do with it. So we just start making up conspiracies. Oh, it has to be demons or something.
Right.
We make up something that fits into our worldview. So for Christians, that's demons. Whereas somebody else would, I don't know, they'll come up with some other solution for it. We have to find some solution for things. even if it's not true at all, you know?
Right.
So
I just wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if there was like a biblically fueled conspiracy theory that would be a loophole for somebody.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I guess
like
I don't know
if
enough
it's
about conspiracy theories.
I don't know. Biblically fueled.
Like the Nephilim.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
that's not a
I don't
conspiracy
know if
theory.
it's
The
really-
Nephilim were real, but the things that are based from the Nephilim to now.
I don't even think, like, with this type of topic, with, like, Nephilim or aliens or things like this, I feel like that's less of a conspiracy theory and more just, like, wanting to find answers. Like, if you're looking in scripture, you know, saying, like, it's probably demons or something.
Right.
Like, that's just seeking to try to find answers for something. You're not really conspiring against another person or an institution,
Right.
which is really what
Institution.
conspiracy theory is. Like, in the definition, it's like
Right.
conspiring
It's
that
against
your
institution
or some other
usually.
individual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where that's like more, we're just trying to figure out what's like.
There's
we
something
just
going
wanna
on. We want to figure it
figure
out.
out what it is.
So then,
what's the truth?
what would you call those? If they're not
I mean,
really
I think
conspiracy
it's-
theories.
Maybe it is still a conspiracy theory, but I think it's less detrimental. I mean, you
This
can
is
still
why
be
I hate
consumed. You
definitions.
can still be consumed by those things too. Just trying
Yeah.
to figure out what aliens are your whole life. But I don't think it's wrong to like at least consider those things. Like, why do people have
yeah.
these sightings so much? Could it maybe be demons? Okay, yeah, maybe it could be, and then move on.
Right.
Right?
No, yeah. I think they're, well, yes. I think that could be understandable. If it is actually legitimately in a holy pursuit, I think that's possible. Finding that as a possible solution and so on. But it makes me nervous. It makes me nervous because I don't want to backtrack on the things that we already talked about in the aspect of we just went through on conspiracy theories why conspiracy theories maybe aren't the greatest thing in the entire world under a certain context. Well, now are we opening up the door to these addicts to like, oh, well, go over here and it's fine. Mm-hmm. Because is it still fine? I mean, obviously, besides the Sunday school aspect of like, well, if it becomes an idol, you need to get rid of it. But is there actually any sort of, like you said, maybe it's not as detrimental to your soul then? Because you're not necessarily attacking a certain person, but are you still going after a myth?
Yeah, I think you are. So at the end of the day, you're still not really accomplishing anything. You know,
Right.
like I don't think I think still at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you should handle it the same way
Yeah.
that you handle any other conspiracy theory.
Sorry, I'm not trying to switch gears too much, but
good.
what also is kind of frustrating is people that treat certain things as myths that aren't myths.
Yeah.
Because that, I think, is just, if not more, detrimental.
Oh, for sure.
Because there's certain things that are talked about in the Bible that people think are just like, ooh, that's back then. Like Old Testament, Moloch,
Yeah.
all that stuff. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like old idols in the Bible, Old Testament, so on and so
Yeah.
forth. People still worship those things today.
Mm-hmm.
Just by a different name.
Right.
You know, people look
Yeah.
at the spiritual
People
realm and think that's a
Live in
conspiracy
denial about
theory.
things that are very real.
Yeah, people look at the spiritual realm and think it's a conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's like, no, there are actual spirits of different things and so on that go on and happen and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much of that.
Yeah, that's true. And like, but that's where like we know that those things are true,
Yeah.
and we need to, I don't know, communicate that like if something is true and you have grounds for it being true, then you should
That's
communicate
difficult.
that it's true. But then that's hard because then
It's hard
someone
to
can
prove
say
that it's
well,
true.
my conspiracy theory, I'm 100% convinced that this is true, and so I'm spreading truth.
Yeah, it's like pointing the finger is like if I sat down with somebody who's a conspiracy theorist and I said, but they thought like the spiritual realm or the idols in the Old Testament or whatever are conspiracies that nobody really does that anymore, but I could show them active proof of that, then they'd be like, well, then how come my conspiracy theory isn't? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's this back and forth thing. I
That's
don't know.
true.
I feel like it. Oh,
I mean no matter what, people have to choose what they're gonna believe.
Yes.
Like, at the end of the day, nothing is, I guess, technically 100% provable. Like, things are 100% provable, but even if I gave you all the perfect facts and everything, you still have to choose if you're gonna actually believe that it's true. Like, you could still live in your, even if I tell you this is real and you touch it, you could still live in your delusion that this is like some strange figment of us, some imagination, or it's a part of a simulation.
Oh,
if that's
right.
really what you
well,
want to believe.
and then there's the people that say, if this was an elephant and there were 7 blind men.
What?
You've never heard that? Okay.
I don't know what that is.
If an individual watching this watches it, I'm not throwing shots at you. This is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. Is that there's like 7 blind men and there's an elephant. They each touch the elephant, but they're touching a different part of the elephant. And they all say what it is. They're not entirely wrong because it's what they can feel and perceive and see. So even though none of them knew it was an elephant and they all said it was something else, they're not wrong because they are wrong. It's an elephant.
Yeah.
They're blind.
So yeah.
But somebody that's been said to me on multiple occasions, not by just the same person. So if you watch this, please do not be offended by this. It's just that's a very foolish thing to me. It's postmodernistic. Mm-hmm. There is a truth.
Yeah.
And just because you don't see the full picture of everything and you only get an aspect of it doesn't mean that this isn't what it is.
Yeah, right.
If that makes sense, And that's not a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
That's not. That's just the actual proof and truth of it.
Yeah.
Just because I haven't experienced the fullness of what God has done throughout all time. I have never seen him raise someone from the dead. Mm-hmm. I've heard about it, I've read about it, but I've never seen it. Doesn't mean that he's not capable of doing it.
Someone from the dead. Right.
Just because I've never heard God audibly talk doesn't mean he can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I'm saying is, like, just because I've only had this little glimpse of something doesn't mean that this isn't, oh, well, that means that isn't it, and this is what it is, and I'm right because that's been my perspective, and so on. I think that directly applies to the conspiracy theory thing. And especially when you're going over the balance of what is a conspiracy theory in this world, what is actually in here that people think is a conspiracy theory, but no, it's actually truth.
Yeah. I don't know.
Does it boil down to just the pursuit of truth?
I think it, I mean... Again,
but what truth are you trying to find? What truth is actually going to make a difference?
It comes with pursuing truth, but pursuing truth that is actually making a difference, that actually is... You need to just consider, what am I actually accomplishing through pursuing this?
Yeah.
Is there anything really being done tangibly? If not, I probably need to just stop putting so much time into this thing. And... yeah, I don't know. This is such a hard topic to like narrow down and just nail down.
Because it's very broad.
It's very broad, and because conspiracy theories dilute what is real and what's true, and so there's so much information out there, it's hard to even pin down perfectly a yes and no answer, a black and white answer. I don't know. It's just
there is a filter that I use for myself whenever I'm trying to make decisions. I should use it more often because I don't always use it. Mm-hmm. I try to. And it stemmed a long time ago, but then as I started playing chess and I started watching this specific guy, Gotham Chess, watching him, and he has this like filter when he's looking at the board in a position, and he's like, look for checks, captures, attacks. Can I give him a check? Can I capture anything? Can they capture anything? Can they give me a check? And then attack. What can I attack? Place a piece here so it attacks this. In the same manner, when I look at my life, I look at how I was created by God. Body, mind, spirit. Mm-hmm. When I am doing something, talking about something, making a decision, reading something, watching, listening, blah, 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 the list goes on, I look at, how is this going to affect my body, mind, and spirit in a godly manner?
Yeah.
And if these things cannot attribute to that, do I really need it in my life?
Yeah.
Do I really need to be dead set on holding on?
Right.
That's kind of, if that helps anybody out there, maybe not with conspiracy theories, but some other aspect of your life. I just look at that. But then I also look at what can the enemy do, body, mind, and spirit. And where do I need to start covering? Where do I need to start bundling up, retreating? Because flee temptation. There's no resisting temptation. There's resisting the devil, but flee temptation. You know, get out of there.
Yeah.
So where do I need to do that based on these things and blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of people want to talk about the temptation. A lot of people talk about sexual temptation, but not very many people talk about the temptation that can affect your mind, that can affect your spirit, that can affect these other things that are still uprooting and undermining you.
Yeah.
They just look at these big things because everybody uses that worldly filter of like, well, yes, sin is sin, but there's worse things that you could do. It's like, don't use the worldly filter. It's all sin, and you need to start backtracking off of these things. Like, if some of you guys can relate out there, if you commit a grotesque sin and you're just, there I am ranking it, but you know what I'm saying. In the aspect of if that was your filter or your mindset, there's a grotesque sin. Once you do that, let's say somebody who's been porn free for how long, and then you watch porn and you're just like, oh, I can't believe I did that. Like, my stomach hurts. I feel miserable. Oh. But then you're playing around with conspiracy theories and it's causing you to not submit to government authorities as you are, but that sin is okay. I think you should have the same response to both.
Right.
Now, they were doing a Bible study called Respectable Sins. And I don't know because I didn't read it, but I'm assuming that's like what it is. Is there certain sins that we just are like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah, right.
The Lord will forgive you, but I cheer you on. You know what it's like?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think when it comes to conspiracy theories, or there's other topics that are just like it, that we look at and we're like, it's okay to have that in our life. It's not that bad as long as you monitor it and don't cross the line, only get buzzed, not drunk, and blah, blah, blah. It's best to just filter it, man. Look at how is it affecting you? Is it godly? Body, mind, and spirit. What's it affecting?
Yeah.
What is it opening you to an attack to? And going from there.
Yeah.
And I don't think, though they're entertaining and they're okay to talk about, and I don't think it's necessarily awful.
Yeah.
But how much of your life and how much of your time and how much of your mental game is put into this matters.
Yeah.
And how it's causing you to act matters.
For sure. Yeah. No, that's good.
Lit. Did you have something to end it?
I don't know. I feel like that. I don't know.
We did a little loop-de-loo there.
Yeah.
But then it wrapped
I think
back
there's
around.
just like a few just major things you said is like to again don't put your time into something if you don't have a real solution, if you're not really accomplishing things. Pursue godliness above all else. So there's just some things we can just filter out and say this is just completely unnecessary for me to put my time into.
Yep.
If it's not moving me towards godliness.
Absolutely.
And there's just some things that just aren't worth our attention. We can, even if there is some conspiracy thing out there that's true, it'd still be better for us to just pursue God and his kingdom.
They just make excuses on excuses to
Right.
do it, but ultimately it's not.
Ultimately, sometimes there's just some things we can sacrifice not knowing the truth for that, for the greater cause of building God's kingdom right here. Or
I want to know
preaching
one
the
truth
gospel.
over the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So I
Dude.
think that's good.
Oh, yeah.
Boom, boom.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Boom, boom, Washington.
Boom, boom. Washington.